When most people think about the unexplored parts of the ocean, they imagine the deepest places on Earth. The Mariana Trench, the Challenger Deep, the deepest places on the planet. Yet long before you ever reach those depths, you enter a place where sunlight disappears completely. Imagine an environment larger than every single continent on Earth combined, completely devoid of landmarks, entirely lacking a horizon, and offering absolutely no way to see how far the darkness extends. This is the Midnight Zone, a massive hidden empire of perpetual shadow hidden beneath the world's oceans. While we busy ourselves looking at the stars for signs of alien life, an enormous hidden world exists right here on Earth. A three-dimensional void packed with bizarre creatures and mysteries we are only beginning to understand. As you plunge beneath the waves, the welcoming sunlit surface water fades with terrifying speed. The ocean is divided into distinct layers, each becoming darker, colder, and more alien than the last. Near the surface lies the sunlight zone, where plants grow, predators hunt by sight, and most marine life spends its time. Descend a little farther, and you enter the twilight zone, a dim realm where the last traces of sunlight struggle to penetrate the water. By the time you reach roughly 1,000 meters down, every trace of daylight has vanished. You have officially crossed the threshold into the Midnight Zone. In some places, the Midnight Zone eventually reaches the seafloor. In many others, it stretches through miles of open water before the bottom ever appears. You are suspended in an endless black void, trapped between a surface you can no longer see and a seafloor that remains miles below you. It feels less like descending through the ocean and more like drifting through outer space. There is no solid ground to stand on, no sky above, only a crushing weight of water and a complete absence of solar energy. It is an enormous, ink-black world where life has been forced to invent entirely different ways of surviving. The creatures living here have responded in ways that often seem impossible. Take the anglerfish, which decided that if nature was going to turn off the lights, it would simply build its own. This iconic creature lures unsuspecting prey through the pitch-black water using a glowing bioluminescent bulb dangling right in front of its mouth. It is essentially a swimming bear trap with a built-in nightlight, a perfect example of evolutionary engineering designed specifically for an ecosystem where traditional vision is completely useless. Life in the Midnight Zone often rewards patience. Food can be scarce, and opportunities don't come often. The viperfish has adapted to that reality with one of the most intimidating sets of teeth in the ocean. Its needle-like fangs are so large that they cannot fit entirely inside its mouth. Instead of actively chasing prey through the darkness, it often relies on ambush tactics, waiting for an opportunity before striking with astonishing speed. In a world where the next meal could be days away, missing your chance is not an option. And this environment requires more than just clever hunting tools. It demands a masterclass in extreme resource management. The vampire squid navigates this brutal reality by living in a low oxygen layer that would suffocate almost any other marine animal. Despite its dramatic name, it is a peaceful scavenger, drifting through the dark and deploying long sensory filaments to collect organic debris falling from the surface. When threatened, it turns itself inside out, displaying a webbed cape lined with soft spikes, and can even eject a cloud of glowing bioluminescent slime to confuse attackers before vanishing back into the shadows. Every so often, the Midnight Zone reveals something that completely alters your sense of scale. The giant phantom jellyfish is one of the largest invertebrate predators on Earth, featuring a bell that can stretch over 1 meter across and trailing mouth arms that can extend for more than 10 meters through the water. It is also remarkably elusive, remaining unknown to science until relatively recently, despite its enormous size. Watching one drift through the darkness is strangely unsettling. There is no visible horizon, no seafloor beneath it, and no surface above. The jellyfish simply emerges from the blackness and disappears back into it again. Its enormous size raises an obvious question. Why do some animals living in one of Earth's harshest environments become giants? Researchers call this phenomenon deep-sea gigantism. Across the ocean's deeper layers, including the midnight zone, certain species grow dramatically larger than their relatives living closer to the surface. Scientists are still debating exactly why this happens. Colder temperatures slow metabolism. Food can be scarce and unpredictable. Extreme pressure creates challenges that few environments on Earth can match. The deep ocean rewards a very different set of survival strategies, and in some cases, larger bodies appear to provide an advantage. No single explanation has solved the mystery completely. Like many aspects of the midnight zone, deep-sea gigantism remains a puzzle scientists are still trying to understand. And perhaps that is the most remarkable thing about this hidden world. Even after decades of exploration, scientists are still uncovering basic rules governing life in the darkness. Strange adaptations, bizarre hunting strategies, bioluminescent displays, and oversized creatures all point to the same conclusion. The midnight zone operates very differently from the sunlit world above. In fact, researchers aren't always certain that they are observing natural behavior at all. Most deep-sea expeditions rely on powerful floodlights mounted to remotely operated vehicles. For creatures adapted to a world without sunlight, those lights may be the equivalent of shining stadium spotlights into a dark room. Some scientists suspect that animals alter their behavior, flee, or avoid the cameras entirely, meaning we may still be missing important pieces of how this ecosystem actually functions. The creatures we've explored are only a tiny sample of life hidden here, and the fact that we may be altering their behavior simply by observing them highlights how much remains unknown. Beyond the reach of sunlight exists an enormous ecosystem operating largely out of sight, carrying on its existence beneath thousands of feet of water. What makes that ecosystem even stranger is how little it changes. At the surface, life is governed by sunrise and sunset, storms and seasons, shifting weather patterns and changing temperatures. The midnight zone experiences none of those things. Temperatures hover just above freezing. Darkness remains absolute. The pressure never relents. For millions of years, vast portions of this environment have remained remarkably stable, creating one of the most consistent habitats on Earth. Yet despite that stability, life here faces a constant challenge. Nothing grows in the midnight zone. There are no underwater forests, no fields of algae, and no plants converting sunlight into energy. Every creature living in the darkness depends on resources arriving from a world it may never see. A slow but continuous shower of organic material drifts downward from the surface. Dead plankton, microscopic organisms, waste particles, and the remains of larger animals gradually sink into the depths. Scientists call this process marine snow. It may not look like much, but these falling scraps help sustain one of the largest ecosystems on Earth. That scale is difficult to overstate. The midnight zone is not a remote corner of the ocean or a single deep trench hidden on a map. This dark layer stretches beneath oceans across the planet, forming the largest habitat on Earth. Most of the ocean's volume exists in permanent darkness, far beyond the reach of sunlight. Every expedition into the deep has the potential to encounter species never documented before, and countless organisms may still be drifting through the blackness completely unknown to science. Beneath the waves exists an enormous world of perpetual darkness, strange life, and mysteries we are only just beginning to decipher. If you want to keep diving into these hidden corners of the planet where the normal rules of nature seem to break down, make sure to subscribe. I am curious though, if you had the chance to safely dive into the midnight zone in a submersible, would you take the plunge into the endless black, or do you prefer keeping your feet firmly planted on dry land? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, stay observant, stay curious, and remember that entire worlds can exist without ever appearing on a map.